We see a wild rabbit running toward our protagonist, but it is quickly taken out and a stone is dropped by the monster. Two more rabbits charge at him, but once again they are easily sliced in half. He comments that he isn't as out of shape as he thought, and that maybe he can do well as a swordsman. A trail of magic stones is left behind. Soon after, 5 goblins appear, and he thinks it's time to test out support magic. He uses a spell that increases strength, and it's explained that support magic can strengthen people or their equipment and can be cast either on party members or on the caster themselves. The goblins charge at the protagonist, but he cuts them all down with a single strike. More goblins come his way, and the story repeats itself, with him taking them all out with a single attack. The last goblin tries to run away but is also eliminated. The protagonist explains that the weakness of support magic is its duration, and at that moment, his spell wears off. Soon after, another 5 goblins appear. He activates support magic once again and continues to take them out. It's explained that each individual has a different duration for the magic, and in his case, it lasts 3 minutes. Enchanters who use support magic are always racing against time. Going back to the past, we see our protagonist being kicked out of the hero's party. He asks the hero, named Oliver, if this is some kind of joke, but Oliver denies it. Orhun says that they are childhood friends. Oliver comments that, since they're from the same village, he gave him several chances, but from now on, he won't be able to keep up with the group's pace. Anneli says to just kick him out already, and Derek comments that he's just a burden. Oliver states that Orhun simply isn't strong enough, and because of that, he's out of the group. Orhun explains that his group and Oliver's, formed 8 years ago, reached rank S in just a few years, and were the first to reach the 94th floor of the Southern Great Dungeon. For these reasons, people started calling them the Heroes Party. He comments that maybe he's not strong enough, but that the same goes for all of them. Oliver interrupts him and says that they didn't understand how important it was to have an enchanter capable of using support magic. But after seeing other rank S groups in joint raids, they realized how amazing they were and that Orhun's support magic is very weak. Orhun counters by saying that his support magic is weak because he is a swordsman, and for that reason, he created his own original magic. Derek tells him to shut up, saying that he changed classes because Oliver was better with the blade. Anneli adds that Orhun isn't better than Oliver with a sword and also isn't a good sorcerer. Orhun tries to defend himself by saying that he switched because the group needed an enchanter and he was the one most suited for it. Besides that, he invented his own style of magic, and thanks to that, they were able to reach deeper levels of the dungeon. Oliver interrupts him again, saying they've already found a replacement enchanter. The short girl comments that they're the hero's party and need to move forward, and that they couldn't do that with him. Orhun says that if there's no place for him, he'll go do something else, and leaves the room. Anneli comments that he can use both sword and magic, but only up to rank A at best. Back to the present day, we see the protagonist saying that he will become an adventurer capable of using both magic and sword at the same time, and that no one will ever call him useless again. He registers his adventurer card at the teleportation crystal, which allows him to start from the 7th floor next time. Suddenly, 4 adventurers come running desperately toward the crystal. One of them comments that this shouldn't have happened, while the leader says there was nothing they could do since they couldn't handle so many orcs. Another one comments that it was wrong to leave the girl behind, but the leader replies that if they had stayed, they all would have been wiped out, and that he made the right decision since the girl had only joined the group that day and he needed to prioritize the lives of his older friends. Orhun thinks that he shouldn't get involved in this, since she simply had bad luck joining them. But he knows how much it hurts to be abandoned. Then, he turns to the leader and asks if they left a girl to die. They ask who he is, and Orhun simply says that they abandoned the girl and are now making excuses instead of saving her. The blonde-haired adventurer says that even if he had stayed, he wouldn't have been able to do anything, and then charges at Orhun. Orhun knocks him to the ground and says that since he's useless just lying there, he wants to know where the girl is, because he's going to save her. Then we see the girl in a dead-end spot, surrounded by orcs, begging them to stay away from her. She casts a barrier spell, but she knows she won't be able to maintain it with so many orcs attacking at once. She calls out for her sister, and at that moment, the barrier breaks. However, Orhun arrives just in time, casting a wind spell. He runs toward the orcs, blocks one of their attacks, and casts a support spell on himself. The girl is shocked to see him using support magic, and right after he cuts an orc in half. She can't figure out whether he's a swordsman or an enchanter. Orhun casts another support spell on his sword, and continues slicing the orcs in half. With a sword technique, he cuts down several orcs at once, leaving the girl shocked at how strong he is. Shortly after, all the orcs are eliminated. Orhun asks if she is okay. She collapses to the ground, relieved to be alive, and starts to cry. Now outside, she thanks him and introduces herself as Sophia Claudel. Orhun recognizes the surname Claudel and notices the cloak she is wearing. He introduces himself as Orhun, and Sophia comments that it's a wonderful name, asking if he would like to have dinner with her as a way to thank him. Orhun replies that he didn't save her expecting anything in return, but she insists and he ends up accepting. When he arrives at the place, he notices that the restaurant bears the same crest he saw on her cloak and clearly understands that she belongs to the Night Sky Silver Rabbits, one of the largest guilds in the Kingdom of Norritend. Inside the restaurant, Sophia meets her sister, who gets annoyed when she sees Orhun near her, saying it's too soon for her to have a boyfriend. When she realizes who he is, she comments that it's been a long time since she last called his name, Selma Claudel. Sophia asks if they know each other, and Orhun replies that they do, since Selma is the leader of an S-rank party of the Silver Rabbits and the strongest enchanter on the continent. He explains that it was she who made enchanters famous, creating the idea that each party member has different roles: attackers to take down enemies, defenders to protect the group, and supporters in the rear. This completely changed the way adventurers think about exploring dungeons. He comments that, in the heroes group, it was no different, and for that reason, he ended up becoming an enchanter. Orhun says that the reason they called him useless was because they compared him to Selma inside the dungeon. He states that, just by looking at Sophia, he imagined they were from the same clan, but he didn't think they were sisters. Selma then asks why he is going after her 14-year-old sister. Orhun replies that she got it all wrong, as he really was going to have dinner with Sophia, but with pure intentions. Selma retorts, asking if he means that her sister isn't good enough for him. Sophia intervenes, asking Selma not to be rude to the person who saved her life. Selma asks if Sophia went to the dungeon alone, and she confirms. Selma says that they were going to the Great Dungeon the day after tomorrow, and Orhun realizes that Sophia had been exploring in secret from the clan. Selma comments that the important thing is that she's okay, and that from now on, she shouldn't go out alone. Sophia agrees. Selma thanks Orhun for saving her sister, and apologizes for having been rude. She mentions that she hasn't seen him since the attack, and Sophia asks if they know each other. Orhun says they met during last month's attack. Selma explains that they are both sorcerers, so they were together, and that he helped a lot. Sophia comments that it seems like they've known each other for a long time. Selma asks if Sophia doesn't know Orhun, and she wonders if he's famous. Selma replies that he used to be part of the heroes group, which leaves Sophia desperate. Orhun tells her not to be nervous, especially since he's no longer part of the group. Selma wonders why they let someone so exceptional leave, and Orhun replies that they reached an agreement and it was better for both sides. Selma asks if he's free at the moment, and Orhun confirms. But before she can ask anything else, he says he doesn't want to join any group right now. Selma explains that he misunderstood, and says she has the perfect job for him: to accompany them on the teaching expedition the next day. Orhun asks what that is, and Selma explains that it's meant to train new recruits. He wonders why she wants him to go along, and Selma explains that a rank A group will lead the expedition, which will last 3 days and go up to the 50th floor. Orhun comments that it would take rookies 6 months to cover that distance and that it's a crazy schedule. Selma admits that it really is crazy, but they'll take the shortest route because the sponsors are insisting. Orhun comments that it seems like the Silver Rabbits are in a tough spot, but the plan is so risky that she should have turned down the sponsors. He realizes that this way, the new recruits, who wouldn't stand a chance against a floor boss on their own, could explore deeper floors, strengthening the clan as a whole. Selma is shocked to realize that he understood everything with just a few pieces of information and notes, that he's smarter than she thought. It's explained that, in dungeons, you have to defeat floor bosses that appear every 10 floors in order to advance. Normally, rookies get injured or die in these battles, but if a veteran adventurer defeats the boss, the rookies can register their crystals and move on to the next floor. For this reason, Selma wants Orhun to go with them. Orhun comments that it seems like an important mission for the Silver Rabbits and wonders if it's really okay for an outsider to accompany them. Selma then takes his hand and says that she respects him. Orhun is shocked by the revelation, since she is the strongest enchanter in the kingdom, while he was just expelled from the heroes party for being considered weak. He says he's happy with the invitation, but that he already has other plans. Sophia then comments that she will also be joining the expedition and that she would really like him to go with her. Orhun asks for some time to think and makes it clear that now he is not an enchanter, but a swordsman. Selma is surprised. Orhun says that she respects him as an enchanter, but if he joins the expedition, it will be as a swordsman. Selma, still surprised, agrees, thinking that if something goes wrong, he can always return to the role of enchanter. She says that if he accepts, he should show up at the Silver Rabbits HQ the next morning. Later, Orhun goes to an establishment and has tea with the owner. The man comments that the shop is doing well and thanks Orhun for promoting it after becoming a great adventurer. Orhun apologizes to the old man and says that he is no longer part of the heroes party. The owner replies that it doesn't matter because he is grateful to Orhun and always will be. He gets emotional upon hearing this. The old man says he knows how hard Orhun worked to get where he is, and that he's sure Orhun's future will be bright, assuring him that he'll always be by his side. The next day, Orhun goes to the Silver Rabbit's base, where a man introduces himself as Vince Briars, the leader of the Silver Rabbits of the Night Sky, mentioning that he has heard a lot about him. Orhun introduces himself and says it's an honor to meet such a famous clan leader. Vince says he heard that Orhun left the heroes group. Orhun asks for more details about the teaching expedition. Selma then starts to speak, mentioning that they will leave from the first floor and go up to the 51st floor of the Great Southern Labyrinth, and that this will take 3 days. They will take a break on the 21st floor on the first day, on the 36th on the second day, and on the third day, they will finish the expedition. We see a flashback of Vince receiving the news that Orhun left the heroes group and saying that this is a great loss for the heroes group and that, without him, they certainly won't be as strong anymore. Selma agrees with him, since Orhun's support magic elevated the group to another level. She explains that Orhun's magic is less powerful than average, but the speed at which he casts spells is 4 times faster than hers. Not to mention that he uses several original spells, and his ability to analyze, predict the situation, and provide magical support at the right moment is insane. Without him, the group will be much weaker, and now the Silver Rabbits should return to the top. Vince doesn't understand why the heroes group got rid of him, and Selma comments that enchanters usually don't get the credit they deserve. Returning to the conversation, Orhun confirms that there will be 10 groups of rookies and 5 escorts, including Selma and himself, and that the rookies will take turns handling the monsters, while if anything gets out of control, the escorts should step in. Selma confirms and asks if he has any other questions. Orhun says he has just one more question and asks why only 5 escorts are going on this mission. Because if the absurd schedule is really necessary, it would make more sense to minimize the risk by bringing several rank A groups to support the rookies. Selma, a bit uncomfortable, says that their real goal is to get the rookies to the 51st floor, but that going through some difficulties will help them mature. Orhun realizes that she's lying and that there must be another reason, but they probably haven't told someone from outside like him. Even so, he accepts the mission. Vince says his payment will be 2 gold coins up front and another 10 if the mission is successful, which surprises him, as it seems like an excessive payment, enough to cover a year's expenses. Selma comments that Orhun is worth that price and that it will be great to work with him. The next day, Orhun arrives at the entrance to the dungeon and sees some novices outside. Soon after, Selma and Sophia arrive at the dungeon entrance, and Orhun notices that her clothes are different from the day they met. He asks if it's the novice uniform and says it looks really good on her. Sophia thanks him, blushing, and Selma panics, saying that he really knows how to compliment a lady and asks if he has a girlfriend or if he's a womanizer. Orhun quickly denies it, saying that there were women in the heroes' party, and because of that, he learned how to talk to them. Selma remembers that the heroes' party all live together in a mansion, and Sophia asks where he's living now. Orhun says he's staying at an inn while looking for a permanent place. Once again, Selma panics, asking why Sophia wants to know that, and if she plans to visit him, which Sophia immediately denies, saying she's just curious. Returning to the main topic, Selma asks why Orhun is so far from the newcomers, and he says that, since he's an outsider, he was afraid of making them even more anxious. Selma says she wants Orhun's help to help them relax and heads toward the newcomers, telling Sophia to join her group. She greets the other 3 companions and introduces Orhun to them, assuring them that he is strong. Orhun introduces himself as a frontline attacker. Anthem introduces himself as a defender. Bernard, also as a defender, and Kathy as a healer. Orhun realizes that it's a well-balanced group, but that if he hadn't shown up, someone would have had to work twice as hard to fill the role of attacker. He also feels that something is off about this plan. In another flashback, we see Vince saying that he understands how Selma feels about losing her trump card, but that he can't put Orhun in the first division, since he's a charmer like her, and the group wouldn't be balanced. Selma remembers that they haven't made any progress in a year, and that they can't recover from what they've lost. That's why he called Orhun, and out of nowhere, Orhun volunteered to go as a swordsman. If he can manage to work as the front line, maybe they can go back to being what they once were. Snapping out of her thoughts, Selma says she's counting on the 3 of them in the coming days, and goes to greet the newcomers, announcing that the great expedition will begin, heading to the 51st floor. She asks if they're afraid to go so deep right from the start, but tells them not to worry, because she brought a powerful helper. If anything happens, he'll be able to handle it. She then introduces Orhun to everyone, saying that he has already reached the 94th floor, a place not even the Silver Rabbits have reached, that he was a member of the heroes' party, and knows the labyrinth better than anyone. All the newcomers are fascinated to find out that he is a hero, and the group's morale rises considerably. Selma then asks the escorts to do the final check, and Orhun panics since she put him on such a high pedestal. However, Selma says that he really did make it to the 94th floor, and that she only did this so the newcomers could relax a little, since entering the labyrinth is not a good idea when you're nervous. Orhun is forced to agree with her and hopes he won't have any headaches. She asks him to accompany Team 10 since they are the most promising newcomers, and if they can work as a group, they'll make it to the intermediate floors. Orhun thinks that she shouldn't trust the best newcomers to an outsider. Already in front of Team 10, he introduces himself and says he will be accompanying them for 3 days. He asks if anyone in the group is late, and the blonde confirms that everyone is present. Orhun finds it strange that a group has only 3 people, since the fewer the members, the more dangerous it can be, especially for newcomers. The blonde explains that the group only has 3 people because no one else can keep up with their pace. Orhun is concerned about his attitude and asks everyone to introduce themselves. The blonde introduces himself as the leader of Team 10, Logan, an enchanter who will one day surpass Selma. Right after, Caroline introduces herself as the defender. Orhun asks if she will put on her equipment once they're inside the dungeon, since she's not equipped. Caroline replies that she's a defender who doesn't use a shield or armor. Orhun asks if she's the type who dodges instead of blocking, and Caroline confirms, saying she doesn't want monsters to touch her. She wants to kill as many as possible. That's why she chose to be a defender, so she could get as close to the monsters as possible. It's explained that a defender who dodges instead of blocking uses speed to avoid attacks. Orhun comments that it's hard to be an evasive defender without combat experience and asks if anyone in the clan opposed it. Logan confirms, but says she ignored everyone. Caroline retorts, saying that Logan doesn't listen to the teachers either. The two start arguing, but are interrupted by Sophia, and Orhun realizes he's been put in a problematic group. He asks the next person to introduce herself, and Sophia says she's a backline attacker. Even though she only says normal things, Orhun feels at ease. Inside the dungeon, the expedition begins. Orhun notices that, despite the chaos outside, as soon as they enter the dungeon, everyone goes quiet. Caroline asks why a member of the heroes group is on the expedition and questions whether he doesn't see their clan as a rival. Orhun replies that he's no longer part of the heroes group, which surprises Caroline, since it's a group admired by everyone. Orhun says that's none of her business. Caroline asks if he knows Sophia. Orhun confirms and asks the reason for the question. Caroline says it's nothing special, just that Sophia mentioned someone amazing would be coming with them, and wonders if that someone is Orhun. Sophia confirms, saying that Orhun saved her life. Caroline tells Sophia to relax, since they have a hero with them. Orhun wonders if she's just saying that to calm Sophia down. 2 wolves try to attack Orhun from behind, but fall into magical traps. Orhun realizes that the traps are working very well, and that, since they don't have much time, this method is ideal to avoid unnecessary fights with enemies that appear from behind. In the blink of an eye, they reach the 20th floor. Orhun comments that he has closely observed the way they fight, and that, if they keep it up, they won't have any trouble completing the expedition. He used to think Logan was just an arrogant rookie, but now realizes that he's very skilled as an enchanter, and that, if he can endure longer battles, he'll easily be able to join a rank A group. The only problem is that Logan doesn't know how to give orders, which is crucial for an enchanter. But Orhun believes that, with time, he'll get used to it. As for Caroline, she's extremely fast, so being an evasive defender isn't a problem for her. However, there are 2 concerning points. The first is that she attacks monsters immediately upon seeing them, and the second is that she only uses 2 daggers as weapons, which could reduce the group's offensive power. Finally, there's Sophia. She's not as impressive as the other 2, but she's already stronger than an average rookie. However, she's a bit passive, although Orhun believes that will change once she gains more confidence in the group. He feels excited to watch her development. Orhun and the other supervisors defeat the boss of the 20th floor. Selma asks all the rookies to register their cards on the crystal and then rest, since they've achieved the day's goal. Elsewhere, Selma asks Orhun what he thought about being an escort. He replies that Team 10 has a lot of potential, but their teamwork is weak, and he was especially concerned about Caroline. Selma, a bit awkwardly, says that she's already improved a lot compared to how she used to be, which ends up worrying Orhun even more. They say goodbye. The next day, Orhun picks up the newspaper and is surprised to see that the heroes group has announced a new member, with the news splashed across the front page. Now, everyone will know that he was kicked out of the group. He thinks that if any newcomer from the expedition reads the newspaper, it could affect their opinion of him. But dwelling on it won't help, so he heads to the meeting point. On the way, a girl runs after him, and Orhun realizes it's Luna. He remembers that, even when everyone else in the heroes group started treating him badly, Luna continued to treat him the same as always. When he was expelled, she was away, running errands for her family. Luna approaches and asks him to return to the group, saying that they need his strength. Orhun asks if that's really what everyone wants because after the article he saw in the newspaper, he can't imagine that it is. Luna replies that she hasn't seen the article and that this is her own opinion, and she will convince the others. Orhun realizes that she is serious, but feels that it's too late. He refuses the request, saying that he can't come back because of the article and that he has no desire to return to the group. Luna apologizes for not having read the newspaper, holds his hand, and reminds him of the promise they made to finish the Great Labyrinth together. Orhun says that the promise was made by him, Luna, and Oliver, but it was Oliver who expelled him from the group. That's why this promise will never be fulfilled. Then, he leaves. As he walks away, Orhun thinks that he also wished the three of them could have kept the promise together, but he understands that there's no turning back. Everything ended that day, and so ends episode 2.